And next point in the agenda, we have the Arvut team, which will talk about responsibility on the path. For that, I think we have Hein. Go ahead. Thank you, Hein.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. How are you feeling? I hope everyone's good. Look, guys, I'm very optimistic. I think we'll find a nice spot, like a nice little hotel somewhere in New Jersey on the beach. It'll be nice and cool, not too warm, not too cold. And there'll be room for kids and for us and for everyone. And it'll be good. It always is. Never been to a Congress in America that wasn't good. And I think the last one was actually the best. Okay, so now to another topic. Before we get into the practical work in the 10 session that we've got for you today. It's actually not about responsibility per se. It's about fiscal responsibility in the 10, in people's personal lives, but people who belong to 10s. We've had a few requests, or people turn to us several times recently with people who have financial difficulties. Now, we all go through times when we have financial difficulties, well, at least most people. And when you're in a 10 and we're promoting the value of mutual responsibility, things can get a little tricky in terms of understanding what can I ask of the friends, what am I supposed to expect of them, how are they supposed to relate towards me, not only from me to them if I'm the one in need, but also from them to me. How should they relate to my situation? So there are many issues, and there's no black and white here. There's no right or wrong. It's a case-by-case situation, but there are several ground rules that we need to keep. Rule number 1, do your best not to become a burden on the 10. Meaning what? Just imagine that you didn't have the path and you didn't have the friends to rely on. You didn't have anyone to support you in case of something going wrong. What would you do? You would, if you're a reasonable person, take care of things in advance. You would have some sort of a health insurance, life insurance, retirement program, right? These things are mandatory for Kabbalists. It's part of life. It's not any less important, for example, than being married on the path, or from paying Maaseh. All those things that are very basic. Why? Because they guarantee that in case I'm going through a tough time, I have something to rely on, which I built for in advance. Because, for example, we've had situations where people asked for permission to start a GoFundMe for a friend who was in serious trouble. Understood. But if we permit that, then we have to permit that for everyone who is in serious trouble. And when a 10 approaches, even as a 10 approaching the Arvut team with that kind of request, they see that person's, their friends, dire need for money, and they're relying on the generosity of the friends. But that 10 is not aware that in other 10s, there are people who might be in the same or even worse situation. Some people with terminal illnesses and no funds, not even for medicines. Barely enough for food, no money for heating, talking about the winter. All kinds of social help that's needed because they have all kinds of disabilities because of age or sicknesses or whatnot. And if we permit that and say, go ahead and start a GoFundMe and start spreading the link to the donation, then what about the rest of the friends? So we need to allow that to everyone. And this thing can explode. And we're not getting any younger. So these things will become more and more frequent. So what are we doing? Are we helping the friends or are we burdening the friends? How do we decide correctly? So this is a serious situation. And the best solution to the situation is to avoid it altogether, to be wise in advance and take the necessary precautions not to get into it. Make sure you have something to fall on for a rainy day. You know, I'm not saying that under any circumstances we will not choose to try to help someone. But that would be a rarity, not something to rely on. A 10, that said, can decide that they, as a 10, want to help, even financially, a certain person. But even this should be with permission from the Arvut team. Why permission? Not because you guys are, kids and need our permission, like parents, because you need to have an outside look on things, someone with an outside perspective, a more objective perspective. And there needs to be a limit to how much you may donate to help a friend. For example, in Bnei Baruch, we have for a long time, we've had this law that it is forbidden for one friend to lend money to another friend when it's more than 20 shekels, which is like $6. If it's more than that, if someone asks me for a loan that's higher than 20 shekels, there's a committee or a social committee, or there used to be some other committee that I have to go and get their permission. They may allow me to lend the money or not allow me, and then I won't be able to. That's assuming I want to lend the money. For people who have this dire need for funds or something like that, they can also approach that committee and say, I need financial help. And then they may get a loan. They won't get a grant. Just here, go ahead, take 5,000 shekels, no problem. That doesn't happen. Because every friend is required to be fiscally responsible for himself. Moreover, if a person is not responsible, we don't know who has a retirement fund or a health insurance and all that. But if a friend, for example, is unemployed for a long time and has no income, then he can't stay in Bnei Baruch. Social committee tells him, you're not allowed to come to the lessons until you get your life in order. How do we know? You show us paychecks or some income if you're a contractor or something, and you pay your dues, your debt to the center, to Bnei Baruch, that you pay maaser, everything that's needed. And then that person is allowed back in. So that's on that. It's very important. It causes problems in tens, it causes problems in people's lives, and just in general, being a calculated person is a good idea in general in life. Okay? So enough of that, unless you guys have questions about that. I don't see any hands. If you do, just open the mic and ask. Genia.
Yes, hi, Chaim. I have a question. So just a quick follow-up. So let's say if in our 10 we have friends who, let's say, retired, so they're not working, right? Or for example, they currently on a leave because of disability, so they're not working. Is that like okay for 10, or like is neighborhood allowed those friends to stay? Like, because I think like how that work, like, because we have different friends, different like age groups, and you just said if you don't work, you don't make a paycheck, neighborhood would like make you leave. I think it's a little.
No. Don't take it to the extreme. If a person pays can pay his bill, he can pay his bills. You know, he's managing. It's not our business how he manages his finances. We just want to make sure that people actually do manage their finances. It's not against the law to retire, you know. So just make sure that everyone's okay and that they're taking care of themselves. And let's just do our best not to be a burden on the society and not to be, you know, not to find ourselves in difficult situations. That's all. Okay? Anything else?
Hi, I
No.
may ask a question.
Yeah. Brenda. Yeah, go ahead.
Why do you say that it would be a burden on society if the individual or the 10 really wants to help this individual? Because circumstances can vary all over the map when it comes to need or situation. So why would it necessarily be a burden to the 10?
Well, because if a person is constantly drawing money from the friends in the 10, and we've had such situations, it becomes a burden. Just imagine you have someone in your 10 who is constantly asking for money, constantly, every month. And you don't know when it's going to end.
Suppose you really love this person and they have become like your own family.
Let's see how much you love that person 6 months down the line when they borrow $100, $200, $300 from you every month.
Well, suppose you give it every month whether they ask or not.
What?
Well,
I don't know. Maybe you're corrected, more corrected than the rest of us. But for the rest of us, that general rule works. That's one aspect of it. Another aspect is that as soon as there's a financial relationship between friends, there's no friendship. Not in the spiritual sense. There's a relationship of dependence. There's biasness. That person is already indebted, you know? And so it's not an equal relationship anymore. So it can't be a spiritual relationship anymore. So you've jeopardized the spiritual relationship because of this financial situation. So we want to avoid that. As we say, at all cost. Well, not at all cost, but as much as possible. Okay? All right, we really got into it. Let's see. So you guys want to move on to the next topic? Okay. Our next topic is differences in the, sorry? Did someone say something?
Yeah, maybe it
Julia.
might make sense. Yeah, like if we have help Javier for like congresses, maybe there should be some fund for like life type of issues. Like the same way we purchase our health insurances every month, just like agree that well, just make some sort of payments towards that fund. And
I'll stop you there. Okay. Actually, Julia, that's an interesting idea. In Petah Tikva, we have a kind of fund. It's a community fund where we give 20 shekels a month. We've been giving it for at least more than 20 years. Asaf, how many years is that?
How many years is what?
The 20 shekels thing.
Ah, that's for a long time. Didn't we up it recently?
Did we?
I think
For
we did.
some families, who use the Galleria, yes. Not for me. I'm an oldie.
No, it's
So
for a
for me, it's
long,
still
long time. I
20.
remember it from the old center for sure.
Yeah. For more than 20 years now. So we give a certain amount, very small amount. It's really affordable. But everyone who's in the community gives it. And then when someone is in need, they can apply to that fund to get a loan. But it's a loan. It's not a grant, as far as I know. Correct me if I'm wrong, Asaf. I think it's a loan.
Ken,
And,
unless there's like a critical health situation where there's no other something extreme.
But in any case, it's a committee that decides on that, and it's not between friends. You see what I'm saying? So it doesn't ruin the equality in the 10. It's a community thing. Now, that's kind of what you're suggesting, if I understand correctly.
yeah, this is what we used to have in the physical group. Like every month we collected money, well, just for rent, but part of it went towards that financial net. And like if
So let me, you know what, write an email to the Arvut team with this idea, and we'll discuss it. And if we decided it's a good idea, we will announce it. And we'll announce the sum. It won't be a significant sum in any case. And it will be, in my opinion, voluntary. A person who donates, participates, or is eligible to receive a loan when in need. It shouldn't be mandatory. That's my opinion, my personal opinion. I just thought about this idea that you brought up. But we'll discuss it. It's an interesting idea. Okay?
Hey, I
Yeah,
Just
Dave.
last week, last week in the 10, we talked about the 10 Congress that may happen next year. And we felt that was really important. So the agreement we made was if all the friends can't afford to come to that 10 Congress, that the friends that can afford to help them would make that possible. What do you think about that? We agreed on that to do that as a 10. Can you comment on it?
That's a decision that a 10 needs to take. It's really not for us to say. Again, it depends how much money we're talking about, how much it would mean that you would have to give. If you're given $50 in order to enable a person to get a plane ticket, right? Which would be, if it's just helping one friend, and I guess if every friend donated $50 for that purpose, you would be able to buy a ticket. No, it would be something like what, $600, $500? That should do it. So it's not that steep, you know. So a 10 may decide to do it, but it's a 10's decision. It's not something general from the Baruch. It's not a general recommendation. There's no obligation on the part of anyone to do that. It's your own decision. If you guys decide that this brings you together and you really want to see that friend with you, and you know his heart is with you, and it's really his circumstances just don't allow him to be there, but his heart is there and he makes every effort. Okay, so you decided on it. It's great. It's highly respectable.
Okay, thank you.
But it's like I said, it's your own circumstances.
Is it supposed to be a loan or just, supporting a friend?
Good question. I think that is also up to you guys to decide.
Can I say something about the loan you were talking about just before this? Can any friend, if he donates towards the fund, can any friend ask for a loan for any reason, or does it have to be for something within the society, a reason for something within the society?
For any reason, or does it have to be something for, like, if I want to renovate my house, for example? So I need to ask you guys for what?
No.
Why a loan, a grant? Just,
No, it's if I have,
guys, I need
if I
20
have,
grand. Can you?
No, it's for like. I guess you're right. The question was ridiculous. Okay.
Guys,
Can I just,
spiritual.
sorry, can I just add, I don't know, maybe I'm just new with like 10 works, but honestly, I would feel very uncomfortable if someone in my 10 would ask me to lend them money for, I don't know, if they needed, I don't know, to like fix their car or anything from like corporeal. But if they like on a really hard time and something else is going on with their health or something else, I would think about it. But maybe like I'm not on that path like long enough, but like many other requests would feel me personally very, very uncomfortable. So I don't know.
That's
It's
exactly the
very
point. That's exactly the point. It is so easy to get into a situation where friends feel exploited, and that their generosity and their kindness and love and warmth for the friends is being misused. Okay, money is very sensitive. So we need to be very careful. If we do ask for help, it needs to be because otherwise I'm really in a desperate state, like physically desperate state. Okay. Asaf, I think you wanted to add something in addition about being a burden in the 10, right?
Yeah, I mean, just because I see there's a few questions on this. First of all, and maybe this is relevant to what Brenda wants to continue to ask about. First of all, I mean, this whole topic is sensitive. It's sensitive, and we need to here be very sensitive about seeing the difference between corporeal help and spiritual help, and when spiritual help is corporeal help, and the other way around. It's not that simple. And Rav always told us that Rabash was very cautious with these things, very, very cautious. And so should we. So first of all, the attitude is be cautious. Now, about not being a burden on others, that's actually a very deep spiritual and profound principle. This has to do with our arvut. This has to do with our connection. Meaning, when I, as a Kabbalist, I go to work and I make money to pay my bills, if I follow the rule, the principle of not to be a burden on others, that becomes my motive. Meaning, I don't want to be in a case of needing money so that I don't need to fall on the friends. And that is part of my arvut towards them. So it becomes a spiritual thing. So what I do in life, making sure that I can pay my bills, that I have food to eat, that this donkey, right, that this animal that I have has what it needs, so that I don't need to bother the friends and take from their energy, their dedication to the goal, and their energies and focus, all of that. I want them to focus on the goal, so I make sure that I am not a burden. That's the concept. It's a very deep thing. And so, Brenda, in relation to what you asked, also, that should be the attitude of every person in the 10, that I take care of my corporeal necessities. Even that I do in a way that I want to make sure that I'm only helping the friends and I don't want to become a burden on them corporeally and spiritually. It's the same thing, because if I take their energies, if I take their time, if I take their efforts to anything besides thinking about the Creator, and I don't care about that, okay, the friends will take care of me, okay, I'm in a society of where everyone cares for each other. So no, then I become an unhealthy cell in the body. Okay, so these things are we have to be very cautious. Understood why Kabbalists took great cautious with these things, and understand the spiritual attitude here that lies in those seemingly corporeal affairs. All right, so this is very important.
I'm going to steal 30 seconds from everyone, because I think everyone is looking for an example. How do we do this without corrupting our connection and our spiritual being? And we have a great example that everyone's acquainted with, and it's Help Chaver. For congresses, what do? We create a fund that is funded by friends who want to contribute and donate to people and to help people come to the Congress, not to help them, fix their cars and that, but specifically for the purpose of connection. And we take it out of the relationship between people of money going like that, and it's going to a committee that defines what are the best criteria for someone to be in a Congress and who we want to help and all that. And that way you get to help friends get help, because it happens. We find ourselves in situations where we really want to connect or pay something or pay our dues and all that, and we fell out that month and it didn't work out. So it's an example of ways that the society has used exchange of money. By the way, we pay our dues and they're used by someone else, and we don't decide where our money goes, just like with Maser and etc. So there are ways to do it, but it has to be done in a very, very meticulous way where we don't have money between friends. That's a terrible thing.
Okay, so we will have our practical work in the 10 session next week. I'll just tell you the topic right away. It will be the differences in the level of dedication. It's also something very juicy and interesting to talk about. So you'll have many questions. If you already have questions about them, you're welcome to send them in advance. And we will talk about that next week. And back to you, John.
Oh, thank you. With gratitude to the Creator, to our dear 119 friends connected at one time today. Thanks to our special guests for joining us today. A special thanks to Haim, to Asaf, to Zohar for their heartfelt clarification on responsibility in the 10. And to all the friends for your sincere questions and care in helping one another. Who would have thought that we might have a master class on how to deal with sensitive issues helping our friends? That's just a miracle, and thanks for that. Friends, may the light of connection guide us through the week ahead until we meet again next week as one heart in one key. Thank you, friends. Go ahead, Vesna, send us with a song. We don't have nothing in the Arvut team, so we have still a few minutes. Thank you, friends.
Lost in the sea of empty pleasure and racing after plastic treasure. Now something's calling through the pieces of the heart. There's something more, there's something better. And the light's gonna shine through darkness, and the heart's gonna beat as one. We rise higher, 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 higher. Forever trying to find a reason what to hold on to and believe in.
Lahaim, friends. Thank you. Have a great week.
Hi.
Bye.